Kersal is a small part of East Salford, resonant to Salford City Football Club, Kersal Moors and the racecourse of years gone by. Also, homes to 12,500 residents, and also my home for the last 39 years. Kersal has a rich history with past monasteries and estates belonging to famous kings, pioneering poets and scientists. But what of the modern day Kersal? The last 100 years have been world-shaking wars and huge social and technological advancements, perhaps more than any other period in history. How has this impacted a small corner of the world that we call home? We speak to the people who have witnessed these changes and discuss the differences and whether it has been positive for our way of life as we go beneath the veil.
Very happy, very safe. When I was growing up in the 1960s, used to have play out all day long. You'd just go out in the morning after your breakfast, stay out until it was going dark, and then come home. Your mum and dad always knew where you were, and they were quite happy.
Well, I had a good childhood. I had a happy childhood. Big family all around in Salford, all sort of together.
Yeah, it was a good childhood. And I think it's a shame that a lot of the things we did as children has now gone away. You know, we used to play games in the streets, skipping and playing ball and all childhood games that you don't seem to see anymore, you know, and we used to be able to go out in the morning and play out all day. You know, we'd have a bottle of water and we'd go up to Drinkwater Park and come back at tea time, you know, and we were safe and felt safe. And I think a lot of that's missing now.
Nobody had anything, but they all got together. If you needed anything, you know, people there you could go and ask. My childhood, really, I used to play football all the time. From 9 o'clock in the morning till 7, 8 o'clock at night, only waiting for my dinner and my tea. Rest of the time was playing football either on the meadow or Peel Park or on the croft that was left after they bombed the houses in the Second World War. They got bombed and never rebuilt, so we used to play football on them amongst all the bricks and everything else. And that was basically it. I used to go to Granada to get autographs, all the Coronation Street. Also, had Roger Moore. I wish I still had them because they'd be worth a few quid now. But then used to go to the Cliff, watch United train. I was there when they won the European Cup the day after, or a couple of days after. They all got Ford Mark 1 Cortinas.
Well, I grew up in Whit Lane, and I enjoyed my childhood immensely. It was a thriving community, and we all played out together, you know, our friends, and we used to play in the street. We was always out in the street. We used to play hopscotch. That was one of our favourite games, and skipping ropes. Oh, and marbles. We was very competitive playing marbles. Yeah, so it was a very good memories.
Well, I mean, I've always enjoyed living in Salford, and even when I was quite young, there's plenty of places to go playing football and watching different areas and some lovely walks, scenery all around the neighbourhood.
Yeah, big houses. I loved Peel Park, the museums in Peel Park. Used to go there a lot. Yeah, it was nice down Salford.
When I was born, I believe I was born in what was called the Delphi, which was a really run-down terraced houses. And my mum and dad always told me they bought the house for £75 when they were first married in 1955, but they couldn't live in it. They used to open the door, throw a load of disinfectant in and close the door because it was just full of cockroaches. So it took them 2 or 3 weeks before they moved in. And then from there, we moved to Percy Street down Lower Broughton, which is another 2 up, 2 down, with no bathroom and an outside toilet. But it was just a lovely house, a lovely place to be, and everything was really nice. And then from then, we got moved to the Overspill in Little Hulton, which was fine, but it wasn't Salford. he wasn't as friendly.
It was lovely. We used to play football in the streets. Well, it wasn't a street. It was a circular block of flats based on the Queen Elizabeth. It was quite a new kind of big thing in a way. And we used to play in the centre, and we played cricket and football and rounders. And we had a wonderful childhood.
There was big families lived in 2 up and 2 downs, but we all managed. We didn't have a bath. We used to all sit in front of the fire, you know, with getting our knees red and and our legs red, but all fighting for a place in front of the fire. But you know, we didn't know any different. We enjoyed it.
I didn't want for anything at all, mate. It was a fantastic childhood. Anything I wanted, I got. My mum and dad didn't have much. We had lived in a 2 up and 2 down, outside toilet, tin bath. We used to go to Blackfriars baths once or twice a week because they had the normal baths there.
I never remember there being rubbish in the streets. You know, now you go and you think it's such a shame, you know, there's papers and rubbish. And when we were children, we didn't seem to get that. You know, it used to be nice and clean. And
We used to play games. There'd be like 50 children on the front at Tideswell, and we used to play British Bulldog. And we'd have skipping ropes right across the street, which it must have been about 6 foot long. And we'd just play skipping, all the kids, all in one line skipping. And it was just a friendly outside world that the children lived in.
I was awake about 3 o'clock in the morning when a plane went past the window that was on fire, and I could see the pilot struggling to get out of the plane, and it crashed in a field called Corley's, which was near Hazelbottom Road and the Biscuit Works, and the pilot was killed. So my mum came in and I said, I've just seen a plane on fire, you know, like kids do. And she said, oh, go to sleep, you were dreaming. But I wasn't dreaming, I actually saw it.
there is one incident I remember that, I must have been about 7 or 8, and a friend next door, Belinda, we'd saved up our pocket money and we'd trotted off to Pet's Corner, which was a pet shop near St Boniface's. And we'd gone in there and we'd got our money, pooled our money together, and we bought a mouse, a little white mouse. We had nothing to put it in or anything, but we carried this mouse home. We got home and my mum seen the mouse. Well, I wasn't allowed in the house. Belinda's mum seen the mouse. We wasn't allowed in the house. We didn't know what to do with this mouse. We went all the way back to Pet's Corner. It was closed. So we shoved this little mouse through the letterbox.
I grew up, we had air raid shelters built in the flat so people could go in. And when we got the sirens, all the community went in with record players and we had music. And I remember a lady called Mrs. Greenfield, and she used to bake cakes with orange juice and liquid paraffin. And we had this big box of biscuits, and we'd all share it. And I used to love it when the sirens went off because we were all singing and dancing in the air raid shelters.
You know, there was 2 mills, a coffin works at the other end of Orchard Street, where we used to get our bonfire wood from, you know, near bonfire night.
Collecting bonfire wood, getting chased off Diggle Daggle, nicking other people's bonfire the night before. One time we got ours nicked on the 4th of November. So one of my mates' dads used to work on a construction site, and he brought us some eaves off this building he was working on, covered in tar. When we lit them, about 100 yards away from the houses, all the windows started going in. There was the fire brigade there. Everybody was there putting fire. You couldn't get it out. It was all full of tar. These 30-foot long beams. It was unbelievable.
I was scared of a lad called Dougie Chew. His mum, they used to live on the cliff, one of the big houses as you used to go up. And his mum used, because I went to North Grecian Street School, and his mum used to walk around the school and she'd call you Jezebel. She used to shout at you in the street, Jezebel. And it did frighten you. And the son used to do the same, but that's the only one I can remember really frightening me.
In the holidays, schools used to give out free dinners, but they were only supposed to be free to those who couldn't afford to pay. Well, of course, my dad paid for all our school dinners for 4 girls. And so we went to these places in Colliers to get a free school dinner because they never asked any questions. They just gave us this free dinner, which I thought was marvellous because it was a dinner and a dessert, and we didn't get desserts at home.
Oh yeah, we used to. The street I lived in was a wallpaper works, walkers and carvers, in the little street I lived in, and we used to. It used to be great watching the throng of people coming home from work at night, and especially near bonfire night, we used to dress one of us up as a guy, and we used to sit in front of the entrance where they all used to come out. So we was always sure of getting a few, quite a few pennies for the guy.
I never remember not being happy. It was fantastic, but hard,
My friends all lived down this area, down Littleton Road. We used to go out into Manchester in the evenings. We'd go to the racecourse pub when we were of age. We quite often were asked for our identification because we all looked young. I worked at J. Mandelberg's when I first started work, which was taken over by British Vita.
We used to go to youth clubs, which I don't think they have anymore. If they do, they're not like they were. I used to go to North Salford Youth Club. I used to do discos, and we used to have nights out there with them. Used to have table tennis. It was just very, very child friendly. There was no televisions. We used to play records, and that was it really.
I left school at 16. I was supposed to go to university, but my dad got me a job during the school holidays in a machine factory making raincoats. Of course, I'd never had any money, and all of a sudden I had £2, 15 shillings a week. So I was supposed to go back to school and only have this job for about 6 weeks, but events turned out that I never went back to school. I was working, I made raincoats, we went to rock and roll, dancing, discos were coming out at that time.
When I was 14, there was a Catholic youth club on Whit Lane, St Charles's Hall, and I loved it. That was one of my really good memories of when I first started going dancing. And then when I was about 16, there was a youth club here at St Aidan's that I used to come to, and the girls used to have dancing to the records, and the lads used to play snooker.
I mean, going to a pub when I was 16, my dad finding out, went berserk. Me and Linda used to go to the pub on Broad Street, in the back room there where I used to get served. Unknowing to us that half my classmates used to go there anyway. And when we left school, we all went in the pub right facing Broughton Modern till the teachers walked in. They were to make a bit of an exit through the toilet windows, the toilet doors, the back doors, the window, everywhere, because the teachers were coming in. There again, it was just, I was working, I was not working, but I did a part-time job when I was 12 to leaving school. I used to sell all radios, watches and lighters to the school teachers. And all the local shops used to go in there selling pen and cufflink sets for the Christmas. It just got on with it.
Well, we usually just went to the pub with my dad. They all had to sing songs, or my dad would go to the pub, come back with a dog he'd bought because somebody needed money, and then he'd bring friends back and we'd have sort of like boozy parties.
There's no community left anymore. They come, they go, they come, they go all the time. There's nothing left.
We're learning a lot more from them, their cultures, combining with our culture. So that's the only thing I can say, really.
Yeah, it's definitely not as friendly as it was. I think people still look out for each other in times of trouble, but like when my children were younger, we used to all sit outside during the day in the summer, and all the children played together and be in each other's houses. And I'm talking late 70s, early 80s, and that still happened. Whereas now, I don't know who my neighbours are anymore. I used to know everybody on the streets, and you don't know them anymore.
The standards have dropped in a lot of places in Salford. You've got people who have a lot of children, they're not working, they're not contributing to society, they just take from it, but they don't seem to think that there's anything wrong in that.
I think the communities are developing a lot more diverse now, and it's nice, you know, to see a different mix of people and cultures working together.
And what of the people who have moved into Salford and contribute to our community from all over the world?
I was born in Kenya, raised in Kenya until I was 7. Then my parents sent us to study in India. I was in India for 10 years and joined my parents in 1970 in England.
I felt we were free. We used to go swimming. We used to be able to play as children, play in fields without a care in the world. And we came from a most loving family. And my childhood memories are my best.
Hi, my name is Bill Wallace. I'm 65 years old, pension age, just a few weeks back, so yippee. Well, I was born and brought up in India. Did my education there and came to this country in 1975, where I did further studies in London and joined a company here in Manchester way back in 1978.
Growing up, we had friends, we had animals. My parents had a big garden. We had trees. We had like you'd call an allotment today. We used to go swimming because we lived near the seaside every single day in the summer. And we had no trouble. There was no trouble whatsoever where we lived.
Upbringing in Kenya was a lot easier, very safe in those days, which is when I came to this country was very safe as well. Very little crime in those days. We found people were very friendly.
And I realised, because my grandchildren were born here, the difference between living in Salford to where I lived. I felt that we had a better childhood because we were able to be free. My grandchildren weren't able to walk around the streets like I was able to run and play around freely.
Kenya, you can have 3 seasons in a day. Yeah? You wake up, it's nice and sunny. In afternoon, it's hot. In evening, there's torrential rain, and which is you miss every day.
When we were kids, my dad forbid us to go into Salford because he said it was a dangerous place with gangs and things like that, you know, so we were never allowed to go into Salford. But as I grew up, I was 18 when I bought a house in Salford, and I was amazed at how lovely the people were, the neighbours in the street, and we used to be cleaning our windows and chatting to each other. And when I had my second child at 26, there was about 6 particularly nice neighbours who we were all friendly with, and one looked after the baby and washed her and dressed her and cooked my breakfast. Another one did my shopping. Another one did my laundry. Another one used to come in and make me a cup of tea in there. Because in those days, you were 7 days in bed. You weren't allowed to get out of bed, you know.
When I first came in Salford, I heard a lot of story about Salford, which was very worrying. But after I'd taken a place in Salford, I feel great, really great, because the people were very friendly.
There is one that I always look at and I really admire, and it's near Salford, near Trafford Bridge, and it's an anchor with a chain. And when I look at that, it always reminds me of the docks and how that area now is up and coming and changed so much, but the anchor is still there. And so, yeah, I think it's a really lovely landmark.
Your museum on Chapel Street and all that lovely land in David Lewis Park where people could roam and walk around, and used to see rabbits and so on and so forth, and wildlife.
The old tip on Frederick Road, the old bus station on Frederick Road, they still got the same facade at the front there, at the bus station. Cross Lane Market, the big entrance at Cross Lane Market.
Peel Park and Albert Park, like you say. I didn't used to go in Albert Park a lot, but I used to go in Peel Park a lot. And the museums, I used to love going in the Peel Park Museum. And then my dad had a scrapyard, Windsor Bridge, so we used to go there and just play in the scrapyard with my friend.
When we lived in Silk Street, there was we used to go to up the top road off Chapel Street, and there was a statue of a man. I think he was a hussar, and he had no hat. He had his hand up, and with his hat on. And if I never wanted anything, I used to say to my mum, you know, can I have whatever it was? And she said, when that man puts his hat on, then you can have it. So that was a real. I mean, I think it's still there now, that landmark. And also on Chapel Street, when you used to go past the fire station, if you look to the left onto the Eaton Park, there used to be a beautiful array of flowers with the City of Salford crest on it, and that's now gone. That's just been overgrown. It's not there anymore.
Where I used to live in Meadow Road, that was pulled down. And the community that was there was just scattered. They've put the new houses up. Since then, there's been lots of new houses. Them houses would have still been standing today. They was very, very well built, but they'd wanted to change. The councils wanted to change it. They've just demolished that. They demolished all the community there, and it's just been sent off to the four winds.
I'd say a lot of it's good, but this, you know, I don't think the community spirit's there like it used to be in the old terrace streets. But I mean, the houses now, you know, everybody's got a bathroom, and a lot of houses have got a little garden. Oh yeah, in that, where the housing's concerned, it's a lot better, you know. I don't know about saying there's more to do, because I don't think there is really. You know, like when I was growing up in my teens, what I've just said to you, it was there was youth clubs all over the place. There was plenty of places to go. You know, you didn't have to hang around on the streets.
You just built these warrens of estates and just put different people in, and there was people that you neighbours with for years and years, and they got moved to the other side of Salford, and just all the communities went, and that I think is when Salford started going down.
No, I don't think it's changed for the good. I think it's gone downhill a lot.
I think as it's developed, a lot of the community spirit's gone. You know, I mean, there is some, and it's lovely. You know, and especially the older residents, you know, they keep together and look after one another, which was what it was always like. And we need to keep that.
I think it's just a sign of the times. I really do. I just don't think that there's enough cohesion in people's lives, really.
Years ago, you could go out and leave your door open, and your neighbours would look out for each other, and people wasn't really as social isolated as they are now. You know, some people don't see people for weeks, and that's such a shame. Well, years ago, the neighbours used to be, oh, we've not seen them, you know, knock and see if they're okay, and that was really good.
You know, the streets are terrible now. You know, the rubbish in the streets and on the pavements. I just wish people could be taught from a very young age, and I mean a very young age, from nursery age, drummed into them about the leaving rubbish on the floor, just throwing rubbish on the floor. It's really, really making the area look so bad, and it makes you feel ashamed of where you live.
Nobody speaks to anybody anymore. Nobody knows their own neighbours. The kids are running riot. There's no respect from the children for adults. They've got no respect for their own parents half the time, never mind anybody else.
I think now people are busy, you know, I mean, people are out working more, they work longer hours, the children are in on the computers, they're not, you know, like we used to come home from school and go, oh, we'll go and call for somebody, and we'd go knock on their door and they'd come out, and you knew all the neighbours, and I think there's some of that's gone now, you know, because the children, a lot of these computer games and things now. So, and that's sad, really.
The internet, I think that's the worst thing ever invented. Simple reason, it must have put millions of people out of work, the computer. People now don't talk. Everything's done on text, email. Kids get on the screens. They don't want to go out and play. They just sit in the house. They spend hours on them. There's no conversation. You can't get a conversation out of a 8 to 12-year-old at all. They just get their head stuck in that television and that's it.
It's not changed my life, but I do worry about what's happening in the world these days because of my children and grandchildren, obviously. No, it's a terrible world out there.
People today only think of themselves. They don't think of other people. In a community, you like to be with other people, help other people, get involved with other people. Now they just go in, close the doors, and not interested what's going on next door.
It frightens me that my grandchildren are growing up in a society that is completely different to the way I was brought up as a child. I don't think it's as safe as it used to be. And I think all this technology doesn't help the world, really and truthfully.
I would have thought in the 50s, 60s and 70s, communities were very close together. I think old black and white photographs from that period showed people just sitting in the front, chatting away with the neighbours, door wide open, the front door, no problems. I suspect you can't do that nowadays, at least, you know, it's not so common, which is a sad comment on our current society.
First of all, keep area very clean. Secondly, there should be a lot more trees and plants and things on pavements or around the area. We got a lot of greenery at back of the street, but that doesn't make street look good. Plus, tidiness is very important things.
I like the community that we had, like I say, when we were kids, where everybody was helping each other and what have you. But where I am now, you don't see many people. But I have got sort of like my daughter and the son and that live near. So but that's what I say. Where you just get in, it's like a bubble. You close your front door and that's it. You're just there.
I'd like to knock on people's doors, introduce myself and a good few many other people, and turn around and say, if you want a better place to live and safer place, let's all get together and you don't need to be rich, you don't need to be poor, you just need to be able to walk and talk and help other people.
I'd like to see a lot more social cohesion happening. I think we've grown a lot more selfish now than we used to do. You know, we're busy with our own thing, and I'd like to see that change so it was less selfish, you know, and more look out for each other.
But on the whole, people will help you. People are very nice to each other and they'll go out of the way to try and help you in any way they can. I think the people of Salford are lovely.
It's clear that there is a real division in opinions in how the world has developed. Many of our residents feel that the areas surround ours have developed and advances we have seen have been largely for the better. However, there's a much poorer view on how our communities have developed in this time, how we interact and how we care for one another. The people who have moved to Salford have enriched our community with their personality and traditions, but how often found it difficult to integrate. And I've spoken of the stark differences in how the communities operated and felt. It is a case that technology and time have created a barrier to a thriving community. We have learned a great deal during our mission. I think it's quite clear this device, the camera, and many others can be used to help people open up and be part of a thriving community once again. Here in Kersal, there is a resilience to fight for our community heritage, and we will look to build it once again. I will leave you with these wise words.
You need to talk. People need to talk. There's too many people ready to fight and shout, and there's not enough communication. And I think life should start with more communication with people. And if they started with that, I think other things would follow. Listen as well. You have to listen to people.
I've got fantastic neighbours. They all work with and help each other, putting their bins in, dropping an odd paper in and things like that, helping others. And they always phone you if they want help doing, or one gentleman near me says, don't you do that. Just give me a ring. I'll send one of my lads over and they'll do it for you. You know, I've got to say that the community spirit in my neighbourhood has been fantastic and always will be, I'm sure of that.
Community is about being together. I think togetherness is very important. Doesn't matter what your background, what your ethnic background is even, you know, coming together is the most important thing. Understanding, have empathy, know the other person, have respect. I think that those are the fundamentals to really make. It's something we've got to encourage a lot more here. I think St. Aidan's, where we are sitting right now, has to be a focal point for that. I think it's trying, but we've got to make it better, bring more people in, encourage them. And as I say, togetherness, whatever the club is, whether it's a science club, whether it's a sports club, whether it's a poetry club, whatever it is, bring people together. I think that's the most important thing.